Almost a year ago, Richard Baldwin published an article titled "China is the World's Sole Manufacturing Superpower" on his Substack. I only saw it recently when Daniel Dresner published his annual Best Articles in Political Economy on his Substack, and I'm sorry that I missed Baldwin's article earlier because it's a fantastic piece that really got me thinking. I'll link to both of those articles in the notes section below. Now, in his article, Baldwin looks at OECD data and concludes that China is now the world's sole manufacturing superpower. So, is Baldwin correct? And if so, does China's manufacturing dominance matter? Hey everyone, I'm Noah Zerbe. I'm a professor of global politics at California State Polytechnic University Humboldt. Welcome to Global Insights, where we explore issues in the world through the lens of international relations and political economy. The United States spends more on its military than the next 9 highest spending countries combined. It's arguably the world's sole military superpower. China's rise in manufacturing is similar. By 2020, Chinese manufacturing output exceeded that of the next 9 largest countries combined. This is a relatively new development. In 1995, China accounted for only about 3% of manufacturing exports, and by 2020, its share had risen to about 20%. Historically, global manufacturing leadership has shifted over the centuries, from Britain during the Industrial Revolution to the United States in World War II. Now, China holds that mantle, accounting for a staggering 35% of global manufacturing output, more than the next 9 countries combined. But how did we get here? To understand how China became the world's manufacturing superpower, we need to examine the policies that fueled its meteoric rise. China's transformation wasn't accidental. It was the result of carefully crafted strategies by the Chinese government to promote industrialization and to attract foreign investment. First, China actively pursued a strategy of industrialization through a variety of strategic policy interventions. One of the cornerstones of China's industrial policy was the establishment of special economic zones, or SEZs, in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Cities like Shenzhen, which were once fishing villages, were transformed into hubs of manufacturing and innovation. These zones offered tax breaks, reduced regulations, and streamlined processes for foreign investors, making them incredibly attractive. SEZs were designed to experiment with market-oriented policies while maintaining centralized control. This dual-track approach allowed China to learn the best global practices without destabilizing its broader economic system. The government also made use of tax incentives and subsidies to attract investment and foster the growth of critical industries. Foreign companies set up manufacturing operations in China, lured in by significant tax breaks, sometimes exempting them from paying taxes for years. Meanwhile, domestic industries benefited from substantial subsidies aimed at building capacity in strategic sectors like steel, electronics, and renewable energy. These policies helped Chinese firms compete internationally and to dominate global supply chains. Currency manipulation also played a role. For years, the Chinese government kept the yuan undervalued to make its exports cheaper and more competitive on global markets. This strategy spurred demand for Chinese goods, allowing its manufacturing sector to grow rapidly. While controversial and a source of tension with trading partners like the United States, this approach gave Chinese manufacturers a critical edge during their early development stages. China also invested heavily in infrastructure. The country built extensive networks of highways, railways, and ports to support manufacturing and trade. This infrastructure wasn't just about moving goods, it created a highly efficient ecosystem where raw materials could flow seamlessly into factories and finished products could quickly reach global markets. By lowering logistical costs, China made itself an inseparable part of global supply chains. Finally, China prioritized the development of human capital. It expanded technical training and education to ensure a ready supply of skilled labor for its industries. Over time, China's workforce transitioned from low-cost labor to a more skilled, innovative workforce capable of supporting high-tech manufacturing. These policies were complemented by China's integration into the global trading system. Its accession to the World Trade Organization in 2001 marked a turning point, giving Chinese manufacturers unprecedented access to global markets while solidifying its role in global supply chains. Together, these strategies created a perfect storm for industrial growth, transforming China into the world's manufacturing superpower. China's manufacturing dominance has far-reaching implications for the global economy, international relations, and domestic politics in countries worldwide. As China's share of global manufacturing surged, the relative share of the Group of Seven or G7 economies declined. This has sparked concerns about competitiveness of traditional industrial powers like the United States, Germany, and Japan. Once the backbone of the global economy, the G7 countries have seen their manufacturing bases shrink as industries move to China, drawn by lower cost and massive economies of scale. This deindustrialization has led to job losses, wage stagnation, and growing political discontent in many developed economies, fueling debates over protectionism and economic nationalism. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed just how deeply the world relies on Chinese manufacturing. From personal protective equipment to semiconductors, disruptions in the Chinese supply chains sent shockwaves through global markets. This over-reliance has led to calls for greater supply chain resilience. Countries are now exploring strategies to diversify their manufacturing bases, including reshoring industries, investing in regional supply chains, and sourcing critical goods from multiple suppliers. But these efforts are costly and time-consuming, raising questions about their feasibility, at least in the short term. China's economic power has also heightened geopolitical tensions, particularly with the United States and its allies. The U.S.-China rivalry extends beyond trade disputes. It includes a race for technological supremacy, competition for rare earth minerals, and growing military posturing. For example, China's dominance in manufacturing critical technologies like solar panels and 5G equipment has become a focal point for strategic competition. This has led to export controls, sanctions, and efforts by the U.S. to decouple its economy from China's in key sectors. But full decoupling is neither practical nor desirable given the deep interdependence between the two economies and China's dominance of manufacturing. Indeed, according to data presented by Baldwin, the United States is far more dependent on China than China is on the United States. Economic interdependence, the idea that global trade creates mutual reliance, plays a significant role here. The U.S. depends on China for industrial inputs, while China relies on Western consumer markets for its exports. This dynamic creates both stability and vulnerability. For instance, while trade links reduce the likelihood of outright conflict, they also amplify the risk of economic coercion. We've already seen this play out in tariffs and trade restrictions, which have hurt businesses and consumers on both sides. Together, these factors illustrate the profound impact of Chinese manufacturing dominance. As countries grapple with the economic and strategic challenges it presents, the global landscape is entering a new era of competition and adaptation. To fully grasp the stakes of China's rise as a manufacturing superpower, it's worth considering a historical parallel: the United States and Germany in World War II. At the outset of the war, Germany was the dominant military power in Europe. Its forces were well equipped and had already demonstrated their prowess in early campaigns. But the United States, while initially lagging in military strength, possessed a hidden ace: its unparalleled industrial capacity. Over the course of the war, the United States mobilized this economic might to outproduce its enemies. By 1944, the U.S. economy was producing weapons and supplies at a rate that Germany simply couldn't match, helping fuel the Allied victory in Europe. This war was won as much in the factories as on the battlefields. Now let's return to the present. If we imagine a future conflict between China and the United States, the roles could be reversed. Today, the United States holds the advantage in military capabilities. It outspends China on defense and maintains a more advanced military arsenal. But China's industrial base might allow it to outproduce the United States in the long term, much as the U.S. did to Germany in World War II. The comparison isn't perfect, of course. Modern conflicts are shaped not only by industrial capabilities, but also by advanced technologies, cyber capabilities, and nuclear deterrence. And unlike in World War II, advanced manufacturing techniques, including artificial intelligence, robotics, and automation, could alter the strategic calculus dramatically. Nevertheless, the industrial strength question remains a cornerstone of military power. As the United States learned in World War II, wars aren't just about who starts strong, they're also about who can endure. For China, its manufacturing dominance provides it with a strategic depth that could offset its current military disadvantages. In a protracted conflict, its ability to mass-produce equipment, replenish resources, and sustain operations might prove decisive. This historical parallel underscores why the United States has prioritized supply chain resilience, reducing its dependence on Chinese manufacturing. Just as the United States leveraged its industrial might to secure victory in World War II, China could potentially do the same in a future scenario. China's rise as the world's sole manufacturing superpower isn't just about economics. It also poses a challenge to the liberal economic order, the global system of trade, finance, and governance established after World War II. Rooted in principles of free trade, open markets, and multilateral cooperation, the liberal international order was underpinned by institutions like the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank. These institutions, often guided by Western norms and values, have facilitated globalization and economic integration over the past 75 years, albeit in a manner that often privileges the West. China's economic rise both benefited from and deviated from this order. On the one hand, China leveraged its integration into the WTO and global trade networks to fuel its industrialization. But on the other, China's approach challenged key principles of the liberal international order. Its state-led model, characterized by heavy government intervention, subsidies for domestic industries, and strategic use of trade policy, contrasts sharply with the free market ethos that underpins the liberal international order. Initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, exemplify this divergence. While BRI facilitates infrastructure development across the global south, its critics often argue it bypasses multilateral frameworks, instead creating bilateral dependencies on China. Similarly, China's handling of intellectual property disputes at the World Trade Organization has drawn criticism, while its use of state subsidies in the steel and solar industries has led to trade tensions. This divergence has significant implications for global governance. As China's influence grows, it's increasingly reshaping the rules of the game. For example, its leadership in creating institutions like the Asian Infrastructure Development Bank, the AIIB, offers an alternative to the World Bank and IMF and signals a move towards a more multipolar global order. But this shift has also intensified tensions. The United States and its allies argue that China's practices undermine the level playing field that the liberal international order seeks to create. Trade disputes over intellectual property, forced technology transfers, and industrial subsidies highlight these frictions. The question is whether the liberal international order can adapt to this new reality. Will it integrate China's model, creating a hybrid system, or will we see a bifurcated world with parallel systems of governance, one led by the United States and its allies, and another by China and its partners? This challenge reflects a broader trend, the erosion of unipolarity and the rise of multipolarity in the global system. As China continues to grow, its role in shaping the rules, norms, and institutions will remain a central issue in global political economy. China's rise as a manufacturing superpower is a testament to its strategic political and economic policies and the transformative forces of globalization. But it raises critical questions about global interdependence and power dynamics. As China continues to evolve and assert its influence on the global stage, its role in international political economy will continue to be a central topic of analysis and debate. But what do you think about China's manufacturing dominance? Could China's rise spell the end of the liberal international order? Should the United States prioritize manufacturing and technological innovation to compete? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching Global Insights. Don't forget to like and subscribe to catch future episodes as they're released. See you next time.